Have you ever found yourself in a situation that feels so bleak that you wonder if you'll ever come out of it? And even if you did, you wonder if things will ever be the same again. In this episode, I want to talk about a hope in the impossible. Hey friend, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to see you here again at this hangout of Hope Talks. And if you're new, welcome. And as we journey life together, my desire and my hope for you is that you will find for yourself the hope who is Jesus, and that in every season of our lives, we can have a guarantee that God is with us. Let me tell you of a story that happened many centuries ago. And this is the story of a man named Joseph. Joseph was born to someone named Jacob, and he was born to Jacob's favorite wife, Rachel. So because Joseph was born to Rachel, Jacob loved Joseph a little bit more than his other siblings. Now that's a note for psychology for later. Anyways, so as Joseph grew up, he was his dad's favorite kid, and his siblings really hated him for that. And to make matters worse, Joseph had two significant dreams while he was growing up, and he was very happy to let his brothers know of his dreams. The first one was that as they were a farming community, he had a dream that all the brothers and him were gathering bundles of wheat, and the bundles of wheat of his brothers were bowing to the bundle of wheat of Joseph. And this didn't help his brothers to like Joseph any much more. And the other dream he had was that the sun and the moon and the 11 stars would bow to him. So Joseph grew up with a great calling on his life, and a dream and a vision that he had, that he thought that God would make him great among his own brothers and his family. And so I guess he grew up as an entitled teenager, but when he was 17 years old, he loved wearing his favorite coat, which was called the coat of many colors. We know about Joseph and the Technicolor coat. So as Joseph wore this coat every day just to one up on his brothers, one day Jacob asked him to go and check up on his brothers. And his brothers, who hated him a lot, found that this was the greatest opportunity that they could find to throw him in a pit so that they would never ever see him again. And some of the brothers who hated him even more and wanted to make sure that they would never see him again, they found a traveling caravan of Arabs who were going to Egypt. So they sold Joseph to this caravan of Ishmaelites. And there is Joseph being sold in Egypt to Potiphar, one of the ministers of Pharaoh, as a slave. And the story, if we stop here, we see that from when he was 17 for 13 years, Joseph went through one difficulty and one challenge after another until he was found in prison for a crime he actually didn't even commit. So there is Joseph sitting in his best years in a prison for no fault of his, and all of the dreams, the big dreams that he had, they were long gone. The biggest thing that Joseph could hope for was that he would have a half-decent life. Now, I tell you this story because a lot of times we find ourselves in situations that are so far gone, and we wonder if there's even a possibility of coming back from it, or if there's even a possibility of getting anything good out of the situation we're going. And sometimes it's almost, we almost wish that we didn't even have that dream when we were young about doing great things, or we didn't have that dream about something that felt so close to being possible, and then suddenly our life turned a trajectory that anything remotely even resembling that would be a miracle in itself. So I want to talk about a hope that comes to us at times like that, at times when it seems like anything good can ever come out of it is an impossibility. Hebrews 6:19 talks about a hope that is an anchor to our souls, and this hope, who is Jesus, is firm and secure at times when things are shaky and out of our control. And God steps in to our battle-weary and shell-shocked soul, and he speaks hope into our situation. And the amazing thing is that when we give our situations over to God, he takes all of these impossible things and makes something new and beautiful out of it. if you look at the story of Easter, we see the evidence of God turning something upside down into something amazing. When the Jews were believing that Messiah would come to take or redeem them from the tyranny of Rome, Jesus comes, and then we find that he is hanging on a cross, crucified and very close to death. And I think a lot of times we just read this and we read the resurrection. But if you would stay in that position of watching the Messiah, the promised one, who would come and deliver you from bondage and from slavery, and then you see that your hope is dead, hanging on a cross, I think this would totally shake your soul, and you would wonder why you even believed in a Messiah. But then as Jesus is hanging on the cross, we don't read the resurrection story until it happens 2 days later. And when we read this, we read how God's plan of redemption was the death of Jesus all along. And Isaiah 55 verses 8 and 9 talk about the thoughts and ways of God being so much higher than our thoughts and our ways. And this is exactly what happened in the Easter story, where death seemed to have the final word. God had the final word. And where death seemed to be the absolute full stop to something that would completely destroy hope, God actually used that and created something magnificently spectacular, that is life after death, that is eternal life for us as children of God. So when we accept Jesus, the hope that who Jesus is comes into our lives and it becomes ours. And I think the amazing thing is that when God says that he is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think or imagine, he means exactly that. So my friend, I want to encourage you, just like how the story of Joseph wasn't over in those 13 years, that when he was 30, he actually went on to become the chief steward of the Pharaoh, next in line to the Pharaoh, and ruled for about 80 years. So he was 110 years old when he died, and he was 30 when he was promoted to the royal palace. God writes stories that are not just one-dimensional, and he is so rich in his mercy towards us that he is willing to step into our situation, that he's willing to step into our impossibly hopeless situations that make a mockery out of our dreams, and he turns those into something amazing. Like I shared with you about the story of Jesus, that he took death and conquered it and became the Lord of life for us. So I want to encourage you that as you are going through in this, trust the God of the impossible. Trust the God of all hope to write your story. Because my friend, if you are listening to this channel, your story is not over yet. And God is still writing the pages of your story. And when he finishes it, it would be spectacularly, magnificently amazing. Well, my friend, I hope that encouraged you. Subscribe to this channel if you want to hear content like this again on a regular basis. I will be here on the 16th of every month. Put your hope in Jesus in the times when everything seems impossible and you're going through a hard time, because he has promised to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think or even imagine. And for those in between times, you know, the times when our dreams feel like an illusion and our hope is wavering, put your hope on Jesus, because he is the anchor for your soul, and he has promised to be faithful and take us through every season of our lives. And your story, it is not over yet, because God is still writing your story. Until next time, have an awesome day, and remember, you are loved by God passionately, unconditionally, and steadfastly. You are seen by God.